Good morning. This is Kelley Hobart from Alpaca Direct, and I'm here on Technique Tuesday, and I'm working on these cute little Christmas gifts for my niece, grandniece, or anyway, Mischa. She's totally cute, and see her picture? She's a doll. And so last week we did these cute little mittens, and it was a free pattern that was released on our Facebook Live for last Tuesday, right, Jim? Mm-hmm. And so this week I wanted to have some matching leg warmers, and this pattern is just being released this morning, so you can download it if you're doing the little set along with me.
We didn't see
and they didn't see it?
No, we didn't see Mischa.
Oh yeah, we didn't see Mischa, so we haven't taken the picture with her wearing them yet, because usually we see her at the farmer's market, but this weekend we were so busy, so we'll have to wait until we actually see her. And then we can go ahead and get that picture taken, and we'll repost that so you can see how cute she is. So as we're going along, don't forget to post comments in the comment section and let us know what you're working on. And every week we have a prize. So for this last week, we had these two lovely vintage DK yarns, and it is a machine washable yarn, and it is a wool acrylic blend, which is fantastic for kids and adults because it's not itchy at all. And so it's totally fantastic. So I think the China doll was the color that we everyone had voted on, and they thought that this one would be good for the winner for this last week. And then for this week, I thought I would do two different kind of pumpkin-esque colors in the vintage. And so I don't know if you wanted like the neon orange or more harvesty orange. And so we can go ahead and have you vote on that. And when you vote, you get entered to win. So you'll get to, and maybe you can win some of this lovely yarn. That would be fantastic. And like I said, if you do post the comments that you're in the comments, what you're knitting or crocheting, then I will, if you post comments in the comment section, you're actually entered for a chance to win the prize. So this week we had a new yarn come in, and the new yarn that came in was this wonderful superwash merino yarn, and it is fantastic. It came in from Peru. It's such beautiful yarn and such bright colors. Can you see them? I made the little, remember the Latte baby jacket that I knit not too long ago? I made it out of this yarn. And so I was testing the yarn and the pattern at the same time. And this yarn is machine washable, and you just lay it flat to dry. And it has a lovely halo to it. It is a nice little 4-ply yarn that is, it's sturdy, but it's not, some yarns are wound kind of more tight than this yarn, and it might be a little more, not quite as soft and drapey. So this yarn is fantastic, and we'll have that on alpacadirect.com, so you can go there and check it out, and the prices are really good on it, and it's great for babies and adults, and the colors, oh, they're fantastic.
What was it you liked about it so much?
What I loved is it was such a joy to knit with. It was, it just slid from needle to needle, and it doesn't split at all. It is, I don't know, it was one of my favorite yarns that I've worked with in a long, long time. And so I'm really excited. And I particularly like this red color. I'm like, I don't know what I want to make with it. Oh, I kind of want to make a sweater for myself. But I'm also, you know, this reminds me of the Matisse blue that is in our, the Malabrigo colorways. And it's super, super vivid colorway. And it almost has like this hues look to it. So it has like lighter and darker colors in it. And you can see right here that it has a little bit of halo to it. And to me, well, so far, the sweater that I made, it hasn't gotten a lot of use, but it doesn't really have pilling. What it has is some halo to it. So you know how we all like to add mohair to our projects because we want to get them that really soft, halo-y, kind of fluffy look to them? Well, this has it, and you don't have to add mohair, so you'll have no itch. So anyway, it's totally fantastic. So try that out on Alpaca Direct. Now, here are the leg warmers that I was working on. Aren't those cute? There's the leg warmers, and I made them. If you look at it, I used the Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off on it, and you can see it's nice and stretchy. And what you can do for those of you who try the Jenny's that bind off and they find that it flares too much and it looks kind of warped, all you do is you drop down a needle size. Maybe if you do it really loosely, your bind off, you might even want to drop down 2 needle sizes, and that way you get the stretch of the bind off, but you don't get that funny looking flare like you've done something wrong. See how this, it looks pretty good, I think. And I used a smaller needle. So that's something for you to keep in mind as you're going along. Also, these little guys, they're almost exactly reversible. Jim showed me this morning. Do you see how I flipped it inside out? And you can almost see there's a different texture on the inside as on the outside. So whichever side you like to use the most, you can just turn it to that side. Just make sure your little ones, when they put it on, they don't accidentally turn one to one side and the other to the other side, because you can see when you have them next to, they look a little bit different, but you don't exactly know why. And that's because it's inside out. And these cables are done using 1x1 ribbing. So knit one, purl one, you know, and that's what makes them reversible. So that's totally fantastic.
I'm going to show the two together.
Yeah.
Or the mitts too.
Yes. Oh, our little set. All right. Let me just show you the little set that I have so far. And I still need to do a hat, but I haven't done that yet, but I'm going to work on it. Isn't that cool? So if you guys have toddlers out there, I'm going to make Evie, my 2-year-old granddaughter, I'm going to make her a set. And these finished leg warmers are like 11 inches long. But what I'm going to do for her is I'm going to keep the exact same dimensions because they're nice and stretchy. And it doesn't, it kind of looks cute when it's a little bit baggy. And then I thought maybe I'll just make it like 2 inches shorter, since her little legs from her knee down to her ankles a little bit shorter than little Mischa, who is actually not little for a 3-year-old. She's tall. Daddy's like 6'4" or 6'6". He looks like a giant to me. But anyway, so Mischa, she's funny. She's 3, but she actually acts as if she is more like a 5 or a 6. She's like a junior little professor. I don't know if you guys have little kids that are in your family that are like that, but she is so cute, so incredibly smart. So we love her very much. So today, what I was thinking we could talk about is how to cast on for 2 at a time in the round. And I just thought I'd bring these socks because these are socks that I'm knitting 2 at a time in the round. And you guys know I always talk about using this magic loop method and casting on, doing the socks 2 at a time. But there is a little problem when you go to cast on. So I'm going to come around the table and kind of try and explain to you what the problem is, and then how the solution that I use to get around that problem. So first of all, when I'm knitting a project, and I'm going to do 2 at a time, now I rewound these into little cakes on the ball with a ball winder, but it's already kind of falling apart. So having 2 separate balls like this, or 2 little cakes, or you could just have 2 complete balls that are different. The beauty of doing that when you're doing 2 at a time is that you can put one on one side of your lap and one on the other side of your lap, and then your yarns don't tangle up quite as much. And so that is totally a wonderful thing to avoid if you can, because then you can knit faster if your yarns aren't tied in a big fat knot. So what we're talking about is cast on for 2 at a time in the round. So on here, on my little picture, I have sock number 1 and sock number 2, which would be like this. So when we go to cast on, we need to cast on for this sock number 1 front, and then we're going to cast on all the stitches for sock number 2, side 1 and side 2. Then we're going to come back on the other side because we're going to have a nice long tail, and we're going to cast on for that back side of sock number 1. So this is a pretty cool cast on. So let's get started on this. And if you learn how to do this, it is so fantastic. You will be so happy. When I first learned this, I was so excited. I'm like, yay, I love this. It saves me so much time. So when I'm going to cast on right now for my socks for 2 at a time, I need to leave a nice long tail because I'm just going to use the long tail cast on. Do know that if you want to use this method, you can cast on using any type of cast on that you would like, whether it be a German twisted, a cable, any kind of cast on that you want will work with this method. Okay, so the first thing that I would do is I would grab one of the cakes that I have and make sure I have a nice long tail. So I am going to pretend that I have a total of 20 stitches that I'm going to cast on. And you know that I don't like to use a slip knot. So what I do is I take my tail and bring it over the top of my needle, coming toward my tummy. And then I just take my index finger and I just give that yarn a little twist. And that is in place of a slip knot. And what's lovely about that is it doesn't leave that like a bump in your work when you're knitting, which is totally fantastic, right? So now I'm going to go ahead and cast on 10 stitches. So I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Oops, almost 10. There you go. Now I have 10. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this work and slide it all the way over to the right-hand side. All right, so I have it over there. And mind you, this cord, I believe, is a 47-inch cord. My ideal length of cord for using the magic loop method is a 40-inch cord. So this is a little bit long, but I always use what I have, and I don't like to waste. Uh-oh, there goes my yarn. It's all good, no problem. Okay, so on this next one, I'm going to cast on the full 20 stitches. So I have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Now, right here, I would go 5 and 10, and then I split it in half. And here's the trick right here. You just grab that cord and pull it through. Do you see this is sock number 2, the front and the back? Ta-da! Now watch. This is where the magic is. As soon as you understand this concept, you guys will all be doing it. It'll be totally fantastic. Then we can do a ton of socks, line them all up on great big needles and get more socks than we need, right? So then when I'm looking at my work here, do you see how it pulls straight down? The yarn pulls straight down. You don't want to have it so it's twisted. You want to have it so it's straight down, okay? And then I have my other needle right next to it. Do you see this is this other needle? This is sock 2, side 1 and 2. So now I'm going to finish casting it on. Whoop. And the first one is a little bit fiddly, as you can see, but you just snug it up, okay? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And look at what we've done. Here is sock number 1, and here is sock number 2. And these yarns will get released off of here when we get over to it. All right, so then let's see if we can just see what this looks like. Here's our work right in the front here. And you say, how do you get this magic loop started? Well, you look where the last stitch was cast on and you find that working yarn. You're not going to work that stitch twice. You're going to pull that needle out. And then guess what you're going to do? You're just going to, I'll just pretend as if I'm doing a little ribbing. How's that? So we have a knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1. Oops, and do not split your yarn. That is bad, so bad. See how it's joined? Isn't that awesome? Then I would just slide right on over here and I would line up my work so my work isn't twisted. We don't want any twisted stitches. See how that's straight there? And get this tail or whatever. Find the tail. Ah, I left a super long tail. That wasn't too good. All right, let's untwist this. Okay. Sheesh. Giving me problems today. It's all good. We have patience. So then it's right here. Oops. What we don't want to do is we want our working yarn to be in the center, not in the back. Otherwise, it could create a nice little yarn over. And yarn overs are nice little extra stitches that later turn into nice little holes, huh? Have any of you done that? I always tell students when they do that, or if I do that myself, I say, let that yarn free. And when I get to it, I just set it free. Take it right off and let it go and do not work it. And then you won't have a nice hole in your work. See, now I've done the first half round of my knitting and it's joined in the round and it's completely cast on. So this keeps you from having to cast on one sock or one mitten and then cast on for the other mitten and then knit them two at a time in the round. So this way you can go ahead and start from the very beginning, have your work joined in the round, and it is a very quick way to do it compared to some of the other ways that you have to do it if you don't know how to do this cast on. So if you guys haven't tried this cast on, you should try it. It is fantastic. I totally love this cast on. I use it for everything. And my friend Kim told me, she said, can you use this type of cast on if I'm using 2 circular needles to knit in the round? And you know what? You absolutely can. You just do the same method, and instead of having a cord, then you'll have just 2 straight circular needles. You do the same exact technique. So I hope that helped you learn something today. And if you haven't tried it, you should try it. So now here we are. What are we talking about? Yes. All right. So we have some questions and answers. It was, are there any tips for lining a knitted blanket? And I myself have never lined a knitted blanket. First of all, I love reversible patterns. If I have a reversible pattern and it looks beautiful on both sides, well, there's no need to line it. Yeah. So, and if you are doing a knitted bag, for instance, and not a blanket or something like that, I've seen people just put the fabric on the inside and kind of mimic the pattern with using regular fabric and then just kind of hand stitch it on the inside. And that has looked really great for a lot of people, but I really haven't had to do that. Mostly I've done bags where they've been felted and I didn't really need, it wasn't stretchy. Or if I did a little makeup purse and I used a Barocco yarn, I think it was called Weekend. And it was a cotton blend yarn, and that yarn had no stretch to it. So I didn't need to line it because my yarn, I didn't have yarn that would, stretch and look saggy or something like that. And so I made a really cute little makeup bag, and it was made out of that yarn that doesn't stretch.
Maybe post that Hugs and Kisses, remember?
Yes, and I also have a pattern on Alpaca Direct. It's called the Hugs and Kiss Baby Blanket, and it has reversible cables. The whole blanket is reversible. It looks beautiful on both sides. And so if you haven't knit that blanket's kind of fun. I used 6 skeins of vintage chunky to make that blanket, and it was a fun, fairly quick knit, so I really enjoyed making that one too. So it makes for great baby gifts. Now, any tips for casting on and getting started with the magic loop? Oh gosh, every week it's the same thing. So become friends with stitch markers. If you're casting on and you put a stitch marker after 25 stitches, especially if you're casting on a large amount of stitches, there's nothing worse than having to count over and over and over. Where if you just put a stitch marker after 25 stitches, you just go 25, 50, 75, 100. It's a lot faster than doing single stitch by single stitch. And usually when I count stitches, how do I do it, Jim? I do it by 5s, right? Mm-hmm. I go 5, 10, 15, 20, because I'm sitting there in my head thinking 3 and 2, 3 and 2. And so I'm going 5, 10, 15, 20, and I can actually count that fast. So if I'm sitting next to someone and we're counting out 100 stitches and they're counting it one by one, I can tell you who's going to win that contest. And I'm always trying to win the contest in speed, because guess what? If I get done with my project faster, guess what happens? I get to start a new project. So that is a reward in itself. So anyways, all right. And then the last quick question that we had for this week was, are you going to show how you join each cuff in the round when you do 2 at a time? Well, we just did that. That's good. That was an easy answer to that question. So in summary, our cast on, what was that again? Sorry. Oh, right. So the summary was, if we learn how to do the cast on the way that I just told you, then you don't have to worry about casting on 2 mittens separately and then joining them to do 2 at a time in the round. So it is much faster. So if you haven't tried this technique, take a look. I used that little diagram to show you. You might want to look at those pictures again. I think you can rewind, right, Jim? Can't
We'll
you?
put it on the blog.
Okay, so, oh yes, May can do a blog on it.
Yeah.
And so maybe she can show you the picture of my little notebook that I had, because visually, if you kind of visualize what's going on, it'll be easier for you to remember how to do it. If you're just trying to follow instructions, but you don't understand the meaning why it's being done, it's harder to memorize. So take a look at those pictures and see if you can kind of conceptualize in your mind what is happening, and then you'll go, ha, I can do it. I don't need to memorize it because I understand the meaning behind doing it. So no need to ever look it up again. You'll have it concreted in your memory, and you will be able to do it whenever you needed to do it. So let's look and see who won the prize for this week, right, Jim? So, oh dear. Okay, yes, it was for the vintage DK, and it's the China doll, and the winner is Bobby Culler. Yay, Bobby, congratulations. You have won yourself a nice little handy dandy skein of vintage DK. And a lot of people like this. You can make a really nice little pocket hat or something for yourself, or you could do mittens. Or, well, there's a lot of things you can do. But all you have to do is get in contact with us at customer service at Alpaca Direct, right, Jim? And then we just need your shipping address and we can get it out in the mail to you. And for those of you who want to enter today, don't forget to vote on our other winning, prize for this next week is this vintage. And it is in this kind of a neon orange, and then more of a harvest orange. So you guys choose, and we can send that out next week to the winner. So now I'm thinking, okay, what am I going to work on for this next Tuesday? I'm not sure. I was thinking that maybe I'll do another Christmas project, or maybe I'll do a hat. I don't know. I saw this really cute project on Ravelry, and it was kind of like modular knitting. I was almost thinking about that. But anyways, you might have to wait until this next week and find out, because I will pick something soon, I'm sure. And we can all learn something new for next week. So you guys have a great week, and I will see you next Tuesday.